Welcome back to the Chrysalis House YouTube channel. My name is Chrysalis and we are going to be talking about how to transform your relationship with work. I'm really excited to talk about this topic with you guys because I have been on a search since I was about 22 years old to find meaningful work in my life. I am 29 years old, so although I have plenty of life to live, awareness to gain, and knowledge to expand into, I have made it my mission for the past 7 years of my life to find work that lights me up and moves me forward. And I've done it in a lot of ways that many people, possibly even you listening, judge as unconventional, bad, or possibly liberating. Today we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to give you 5 tips as to how to transform your relationship with work so that work goes from something that feels dreadful, soul-crushing, possibly apathetic, to something where you literally start waking up earlier than you ever have in your life and working longer hours than you ever have, not because it feels like work, but because you are so mission-driven and excited to be doing what you're doing. The first tip that I have as to how to transform your relationship with work is to be honest with yourself. Now that sounds really simple, but for a lot of people, this is a really difficult thing to do. For me, this wasn't difficult, but I know that it is difficult for some people because I watched it be really, really difficult for my wife. She chose to spend multiple years in different industries that she committed herself to because she chose to buy into the narrative that it was just the best she was ever going to get, despite the fact that she came home very upset, very tired, but not in a like, I worked hard and I'm proud of everything that I did kind of way, more in a fuck, my soul feels drained and I don't even feel like I'm myself or in my own body kind of way. And if this is you, this is resonating with you. And you created me to tell you that it's time to be really honest with yourself. Do you actually like the work that you have chosen to do? Or have you chosen to stay in your job, your industry, in your business possibly that you run because it is the best you can do? The biggest part about being honest with yourself when it comes to work is recognizing that you do not have to settle for and accept anything less than what lights you the fuck on fire. I had no logical explanation for this when I started searching for meaningful, purpose-driven work at 22 years old. All that I knew was that I didn't want to be like most people that I saw around me, which was you wake up, you go to work, and then you complain about your job and commiserate with people, and you just kind of accept that life is vaguely shitty or pretty shitty for the rest of forever, and then you retire, maybe, and die. I didn't want to accept that, and so I was like, well, I don't really know exactly how I'm gonna do this, but I am going to find something that I like. And I was very honest with myself at every turn of this journey, being like, I don't like that, and I don't like that. Which brings me into my second tip as to how to transform your relationship with work. The biggest part of my journey from going to work where I was just like, I'm here for the money and that's about it, and I feel pretty apathetic and frankly soul drained otherwise, to holy fuck, I feel like I'm building something that is amazing and world changing and that younger me would have killed for, would have just wanted to come to her and would have poured money and energy and attention into because it's so fucking valuable and helpful, was being willing to iterate and be very messy. From the ages of 22 to 28, I had so many different jobs. I worked as a server, I worked in a sex store, I worked in multiple local grocery stores, I worked at a Home Sense for a little bit, I worked in a plant store, and I worked at a farmer's market selling locally made ciders. I worked in a coffee shop. And don't get me wrong, there were definitely aspects of each job that I liked, some more than others. I worked at the Home Sense for about a week or 2 weeks, and then I was like, bye, because I felt my soul was just like totally offline with everything. The main thing about it was I was willing to iterate. So every single time that I got a job, I went in with the mindset of, let's see how this goes. Now, being very real, I wasn't willing to be 100% honest with myself yet, and I prolonged my journey. But here's the beauty. I suffered so that you don't have to. I took 7 years to learn these lessons, and now I'm sharing them with you so that you can do this so much faster and hopefully with less agony and less self-deception. I still believed that I needed to work a conventional job in order to find this work that was meaningful for me. And so my iterations up until I was 27 all looked like me finding jobs for other businesses, companies, corporations, whatever you want to call it, and doing my best to see, do I like this? Does this work for me? I iterated and went from job to job to job to job to job to years. And the reason why part of this second tip is be willing to look messy is not only do possible friends, families, even partners in your life start to look at you differently when you are not stable and what they possibly perceive as responsible for keeping jobs longer than however long. Some of them I kept for like over a year, and some of them I kept for, like I said, like 2 weeks, because I was just like, this is so not it for me anymore. I was a school bus driver at one point. I sold shoes at one point. I was open to anything and everything that gave me feelings. And what I will say is this: every single iteration of me finding meaningful, purposeful, wonderful work for myself gave me more information about not only what I like, but most importantly, what I do not like. The third tip as to how to transform your relationship with work is to gather data throughout your different iterations on your search of what it is you do not want to experience. One of my most potent, powerful, transformative iterations, aka jobs on the search to meaningful work in my journey, was when I worked at a little local grocery store in the city I used to live in. At one point, I went from being a part-time cashier to the manager of this space. Now, besides the fact that I had no leadership experience and I was a terrible leader because of that, and because I did not have the balls to say, can you do this? Can you do that? Because I didn't want to be viewed and perceived in any sort of bad way, I really gained so much awareness about myself from that experience. The awareness was, I have no problem working from morning until night relentlessly about something if I believe wholeheartedly in the mission and the cause and how it impacts the community and world around me. I also have no problem being in a managerial position, but at the time, and even still now, I can grow as a manager and a leader, and in my ability to work and collaborate effectively, efficiently, and in good faith with other people. This workplace showed me that I do have what it takes to work hard, and not have it feel like work, which is something that I frankly wasn't sure about. After years of iterating and being willing to look messy on this search to find meaningful work, and so many attempts not working out for me, not feeling aligned with my soul, I genuinely began to have a sort of spiritual existential crisis where I was wondering, do I even have the capacity or the ability to work hard? Is that just not something that I'm built into? It didn't help at all that at the time that I was telling myself, I have ADHD, I have depression, I have PTSD, I have all these things. And so when I found this job, and I just started funneling all of my energy and passion and coming alive in ways that I'd never seen myself do before, it was like, wow, this is who I can be. But at the end of the day, it was never mine. And that ended up not only causing conflicts between me and the owner of the business, which is completely valid because my passion was at that of an owner, it caused conflicts within me. My soul always knew, girl, you want to be putting all this energy and passion into your own thing. But at that time, I was not ready and willing to be honest with myself and face all of the self-doubt, all of the self-criticism, all of the lack of self-belief and self-appreciation that then fed into this belief of, I don't have what it takes to create my own thing that is then successful. So I have to do this for somebody else's thing. Being willing to iterate and be messy is so fucking vital, because I lost that job. I was let go, and I own that because I was a terrible person to work with. I had so much passion, I had so much drive, and I had the skills for part of the business, not the leadership, but I had massive skills in other areas. But what I didn't have was the awareness that this isn't mine. I am not in control of this. I get to help this thrive. I get to help this succeed, but ultimately this is not my baby. I just get to co-parent. When I lost that job, I went into a very intense period of self-discovery and spiritual growth. My next iteration was not in the form of getting a job for somebody else. It was in the form of starting my first business on my own. When I did this, I had no previous experience, no knowledge, and it was very, very messy. The branding was interesting. The offerings were also very interesting. That's okay. I was learning, I was being messy, but ultimately I ended up quitting that as well. Because when I uncreated my chronic illness last summer, I realized that even that business too was created from a place of me buying into a lot of limiting beliefs. I wasn't spreading the ultimate message and mission that I wanted to. It was not even matching, that passion that I had for the little grocery store at one point, where it was like, I am ride or die for this. I'm willing to wake up earlier, go to bed later, sleep less, work harder, work more, and do all of these things and be so fucking passionate. And I was like, if I'm not feeling that about my own thing, what am I doing? And so I kind of gave up on my own thing for a little bit. And I really, truly feel that was vital. My next iteration was going to another job, another local grocery store. And I noticed I started to feel this sort of apathy, but I kept going. And my next iteration was in the giving up stage, which I actually feel is so beneficial. I really don't think that giving up as a concept or an action step is given enough credit by, frankly, most people. When you give up, you stop pursuing and chasing the thing that you would like to experience. And given everything that's happened in my experience, in my radical transformation in the past less than a year since I uncreated my chronic illness, what I can tell you is this: the longer that you chase something, the more you are prolonging the reality of you just continuing to chase that thing. And so when I gave up and I stopped looking for meaningful work and I just focused on, okay, I'm just gonna get something that for whatever reason gives me feelings and sounds fun. I don't even know what the meaning of this is. I feel drawn to it for whatever reason. It was completely intuition led. So I went, and my last job in the job experience was being a server at a billiard hall. And it was interesting. I noticed I liked the sociability of it. I liked how much I was moving my body. That was freshly new and able. It was so fantastic. But at the end of the day, I still felt a sort of emptiness. There was no big purpose, no big mission there that was driving me, that had me excited to go into work. And so eventually, I wasn't put on the schedule. And I know on a soul level that was created by both us, me and the employer. Neither of us wanted me there. And that's okay. At first I felt some feelings about it, but after less than a day, I was like, you know what? This is completely valid, because I didn't want to be there anymore anyway. And then my next stage of iteration was just being jobless and seeing how that would work. Can I just exist and get paid for it in some way? Can I just do whatever I feel like and get paid for it in some way? And then that's where all my iterations were. I made different ebooks. I made different things. I pursued different ideas. Elliot and I debated starting one business and another business, and we talked so much. We pursued so many different things, to the point where her family was like, girls, you keep changing your mind all the time. And it was like, absolutely we do. Because every single time that we change our minds, we keep getting closer and closer to what it is we actually want by filtering out what it is we don't want. One of the most useful things one of my mentors ever told me was the most valuable data you can collect about yourself is what you don't want. It is so much easier to answer what do you not want to experience than what would you like to experience? Because most of us don't even know the extent of what we would like to experience. And the beautiful thing about letting myself be messy, letting myself iterate over and over and over again, is that without even trying, once I finished the Newest Testament song, everything clicked. It was like all of these different jobs and industries that I had worked and been in, all of this different spiritual knowledge and embodiment knowledge that I had been gathering and researching and taking in and training for, all of the advertising knowledge and skills that I'd gotten, all of these things just like integrated all at once. And it wasn't with effort. It was just, like it all settled, and it was like, this is it. And I started waking up at like 8 a.m. with just like my muscles vibrating with energy, being like, this is it. My music, my books, my art, my painting, my videos, my content, my intuitive messages, embodiment, everything is Chrysalis House. I get to share how to actually transform your life from being somebody that I used to be to where I am now, which is I'm able to live an able-bodied, healthy, happy life and do whatever it is I would like to do. And this isn't just transformation for people with chronic illness. I used to suffer with what I believed was depression, anxiety, ADHD, CPTSD, obsessive compulsive disorder. I was on so many psych meds at one point. I pursued so many different therapies. And because I allowed myself to iterate and be messy with different forms of treatment as well, and be very honest about what worked and what didn't there, I finally got to a space where I did find something that worked. And so, with that point being so long, I hope you understand the value of allowing yourself to iterate and be messy. Because even if you feel lost or like you don't know the meaning of your search or your journey or whatever it is anymore, you will get there. Just trust that whatever path you are meant to be on, you will get there. You may be the complete opposite of me. You may love and find total meaning and purpose in building somebody else's business. That is okay. My biggest thing is number one, be honest with yourself. As long as you can do that and follow the rest of the tips in here, your relationship with work will transform forever. The third tip for how to transform your relationship with work is something I mentioned in the previous one. Collect data on what it is you do not want to experience. Every single time that you experience something you don't want to experience, I understand that the human ego might go, oh my God, fuck, what am I doing here? Just another thing I don't like. But what I'm telling you is that when you zoom out, the data that you get about what you don't want to experience is so fucking valuable, because now you know. Now you know. You might have even had previous thoughts or visions or fantasies being like, oh, I know I'll like this. And then you do it and you're like, wow, I really actually don't like that, even though I thought I would. Value, value, value. You're no longer fantasizing and idealizing and putting this thing on a pedestal. Try whatever it is you feel like trying, and you'll not only be able to say you fucking did it and you tried and you gave yourself the gift of having that experience, but you'll be able to say, I learned so much about myself, and even though I didn't find something that I like, I got one step fucking closer. The fourth tip as to how to transform your relationship with work forever is to not be afraid to take risks. Something that comes with transforming your relationship with work is being willing to not only iterate and look messy, but take some risks. Because it might look like job hopping and doing the thing that many people advise you not to do, which is having either gaps on your resume or shorter workplace commitments on your resume. It might look like you taking the risk of becoming an entrepreneur, even though working in a conventional job feels safer and comfier and more familiar to you. Taking these risks is ultimately going to get you closer to what it is you would like to experience. Never fall for the lie that you have to settle for work that you don't like or that you don't feel passionate about. I am a true proponent and believer that if everybody on our planet decided to do whatever it is they feel like doing, we would still have all of the essential roles fulfilled. I genuinely in my heart believe that people want to do plumbing or construction or whatever the fuck it is. But at the end of the day, the thing that stops us from achieving that world where all of the roles are filled from a place of passion and fulfillment is people being honest with themselves. Do not do yourself the disservice of lying to yourself. Take some risks, be bold, and know that in doing that, you are serving the collective because you are doing what is best for you. And when you do something that you love and what is best for you, you end up ultimately showing up as a better version of yourself for literally everyone around you. The fifth tip for how to transform your relationship with work forever is to be willing to admit when you're wrong about something. Something that I've done on my platform is promote the jobless, workless lifestyle. And being completely honest with all of you, I was promoting that when I was in a space where I had not felt through all of my own feelings about that job that I had at that little grocery store, where I was so fucking deeply passionate and in love with work to the point where I realized it wasn't the job that was the problem. It wasn't work itself that's the problem. It's that I haven't allowed myself to believe in myself enough to take the action to do the work that I know I want to do, which is be a business owner, be a CEO, and build something so fucking big and massive to help people and impact the world in such a grand way. Being willing to admit to myself that I was wrong in that has changed everything. Has it been embarrassing? Of course. Have I felt shame? Yes. Does a part of me feel regret? A little bit. But at the end of the day, I'm human. I don't expect myself to be perfect and know all the fucking answers. But I will say this. I desperately, at the time of promoting that, wanted the jobless and intuition-led lifestyle to be real. The thing is, the intuition-led lifestyle for me is still very, very real. The difference is it is in union with hard fucking work. I'm waking up and I'm like, okay, I have my mission. Let's fucking go. We have Chrysalis House. We're transforming people's lives. I'm going to help people experience the same transformation I did. Let's fucking go. This has been my experience with transforming my relationship with work. An interesting fact, if you're even mildly into astrology, is that my relationship with work was a dominant theme of my soul's lessons in my Saturn return, which has just recently ended this month in 2025. So it's not a surprise to me that my views on work even just a couple months ago were a lot different than they are right now. Because astrologically, if you believe in that, I have completed some sort of a cycle and it feels that way. I feel aligned, I feel really fucking passionate, and I'm really excited to be building what I'm building here. I'm here to give you guys value. I'm here to actually help you experience embodied transformation in your life. Something that drove me nuts in like the past 10 years of my life up until I was 28 was I was in so many spaces online and in person that just talked about transformation, that just talked about changing lives, but didn't actually do it in like big fucking massive ways. For me, I was really, really curious about seeing people actually recover from mental illnesses, actually recover from chronic illnesses. But what I saw in most circles was let's cope and let's help people have the best life they can have despite it. I am here letting you know my name is Chrysalis. I am the founder of Chrysalis House, and this is where you experience true recovery and liberation from your limitations, not just coping and settling for this is the best that you can get. And in this life, in this video game of being human, work can be a limitation. The reason why I'm making this video, aside from wanting to be clear about where I stand with work and provide you guys value to help you experience transformation with it in a positive way, is because I want you to see that work doesn't have to feel dreadful. I understand that a lot of people do believe there is a recession right now. And here's what I'm going to present you with. There is never a time where there is no uncertainty in terms of economics, the job market, etc. It is either you make the decision to prioritize your passion, your soul, and your happiness, or you choose to find the excuse not to. It is not that I have no sympathy. It is that it is simply about, are you going to choose to be bold and make a risky decision, or are you going to choose to settle? Here at Chrysalis House, we are big about bold, risky decisions that pay off in terms of actually having transformed your life. Thank you for being here. My name is Chrysalis, and I will see you in the next video.